Hi, here's the last can that I haven't drank yet from my recent treehouse trip. It's bright, but the version with Simcoe and Amarillo that I've never had before, never even had a sip of it. It was canned 5 days ago. And the brights are good, but they lack the treehouse yeast that I really love. They use a cleaner American ale yeast, they say, in this beer. So it kind of lets the hops shine, I guess, a little bit more. But I really love the flavor and cloudiness that comes from Treehouse's standard yeast they use for all their other beers, at least all their other hoppy beers. I'm not sure what yeast they use for their dark beers. But this one is 7.8% alcohol. All the brights are little double IPAs. This has been sitting in my fridge safely for a while, so some of the sediment may have fallen to the bottom. And I think they use a really simple malt bill for the brights too, to even more let the hops themselves speak. And yep, it's pretty pale. And it's got, a little bit of haze. I mean, I guess it's a pretty good amount. It looks, it's just about as hazy as this batch of Julius I've had. But I've noticed that the Julius cans, so there's some sediment and things sort of on the bottom. It's not like you can actually see a layer of it, it's just cloudier on the bottom. So this one might be cloudier on the bottom too. Perfect head, super fine bubbles and big bubbles, thick and soapy at the same time. And I feel like it's similar to the other brights for some reason. Yeah, so Simcoe, I guess, is the mother of, or father of Mosaic. So they're similar hops, but I like Simcoe a little bit more because it has less of that peach ring thing going on. And Amarillo I always find to be just like super candied orange flavor. And this is, I don't know, this still has some sort of like slight bubblegummy thing. I feel like the yeast they use for bright is maybe not as big on the stone fruits, but it brings out a lot of bubblegummy sort of flavors. Yeah, I'm not getting so much, like, I guess there's berry. Like, I often get berry flavors from Simcoe, often grapefruit. I don't get the catty, piney sort ofness most of the time. In certain IPAs I do, but not in the New England style IPAs. I guess there's a little element of a Fruity Pebbles type thing. Berries and a very clean resiny quality that might become piney after a while, or if you combine it with Simcoe with like Centennial and Cascade, then it will become pretty piney. But Amarillo is a pretty citrus forward and also a clean resinous hop, I find. But it's a pretty sweet, candy-ish aroma. Oh wow, flavor has a lot more Simcoe and Amarillo going on. I feel like the yeast for this still has a lot of its own flavors happening, a lot of almost Belgian yeast-like flavors, kind of like a sweeter saison. But then in the flavor of this one, I get, I mean, the aroma was more, I think, yeast-driven in some way, but the flavor is more specifically hop-driven. I like the flavor more almost. It has that nice, super sweet ruby red grapefruit and mandarin orange with some berries, almost strawberry, blueberry, almost coming in there. And yeah, it doesn't have quite the pillowy mouthfeel that most Treehouse beers do. It's a little bit more of your standard. Yeah, I can see how it's pretty different. Yeah, it's more of your standard IPA. It's more. It maybe reminds me a little bit more of like the Alchemist yeast, the Heady Topper yeast. That is, yeah, really lets kind of the malts and the hops shine more so than Treehouse and Trillium's yeast. I feel like. That's pretty nice, but I wish it had a little bit more of a bite, a little bit more astringency and bitterness. It doesn't have as much of a juicy, full palate, I would say. I mean, in comparison to lots of IPAs, it does. But it's more reminds me of the feeling of like maybe Captain's Daughter. Like I'm talking about the body. It's much more pleasant and soft and easy, and doesn't have very much bite in comparison to Captain's Daughter and some other big double IPAs that are trying to do the cloudy thing. Like maybe some of the Stillwater double IPA series they just started. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's like a lactose oat double IPA series. The first one of that was like, oh, it looks good. It looked kind of like this, maybe not quite as cloudy, but that didn't have the effortless finish that Treehouse always does. It's never taxing on the palate. It does have some body to it, but it's not just that feeling that floats on your tongue. But I do like the that Simcoe flavor, because Simcoe is becoming one of my favorite hops. And there's a little bit of an earthy woodiness, very light, not as intense as like Equinox is sometimes. And I feel like this isn't very tropical. It has the candy elements, slight bubblegum, almost cotton candy. And then there's basically just like the berries and the orange juicy sort of qualities, and but I guess there's some mango-y, almost banana-y things happening. And then in the finish, now I'm noticing a little bit of a bite. Has some more. It doesn't have that super thick pillowy quality that softens the hops, I feel like. Now it's drying out the palate a little bit, but it's still rather sweet, and I'm not getting that lovely fresh barley malt aroma or flavor that I get with a lot of other Treehouse beers. That is what I like about them quite a bit. There's like not much malt flavor at all happening in this beer, and there's a little bit of a too clean, minerally, not quite medicinal aroma and bite I'm getting out of it now. That it reminds me a lot of the brewers who only have one or two pretty good double IPAs that are cloudy, but they don't really haven't mastered the mouthfeel and the super duper fruity flavors that other brewers can get with this. But this is pretty good. But I'm glad I only got 2 cans, because it's just not my style. If I feel like this, you can get something really close to this in your local good beer store, probably. It doesn't have the magic that the Treehouse normal house yeast does, which I'm learning that their house yeast could be a combination or a hybrid of not just English. A lot of people say it's an English yeast, but I guess the English yeast has elements of Belgian yeast and even German wheat beer yeast, Hefeweizen yeasts. Yeah, I think it's the Simcoe that's making me like this a little bit more. But it's not really my favorite. I don't think I would go wild and trade for this. That's what I would say. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people love this. This one is not one of the higher rated Brights too. I think people probably like the Mosaic one, just because single hop Mosaic beers or Citra beers people are gonna always go crazy for. But I'm enjoying the Simcoe. I wish maybe Treehouse would do a Simcoe forward regular IPA or pale ale. That would be really cool, because I feel like in all their beers there's just a little bit of Mosaic or Citra, except for this one. But this doesn't seem to have the Treehouse fairy dust like their other beers do. Still expertly made and everything. But I would honestly pass on this one if someone offered it to me and asked for just more Julius or Doppelganger or something. But definitely a very good beer. Bye-bye.